Good evening, Cebu. Good evening, Cebu. Good evening, Philippines. It's open mic night tonight. And tonight we are privileged to have all the way from Norway an international viral sensation, a Guinness world record holder, an author, a jack of many trades, a master of probably all, Mr. Gunnar Garfors. Gunnar, welcome.
Thank you very much, Mike.
Welcome to Open Mic and welcome to Cebu.
Thank you very much. That was a long introduction to me.
It's actually quite short. There's a lot. He has a lot of other records, but we'll talk about that more later. But welcome back.
Thank you very much.
Because,
yeah, my second time in Cebu.
Second time in Cebu,
Yes.
but of course it's not your first time in Cebu and in the Philippines because you've been here before.
I have. Yeah, I think it's my fifth visit to the country, to the Philippines.
Because Gunnars record, Guinness record, is that he was able to visit 5 continents in one day.
Yes.
That is your official Guinness.
That's the official Guinness World Record. Absolutely. That happened in 2012 with a friend of mine from Britain, Adrian Butterworth.
Are you both members of the X-Men or the Avengers? I mean, how do you do that?
Well, we have some good friends in high places. We started in Asia,
Istanbul?
In Istanbul, yeah,
Okay.
the Asian part of Istanbul.
All right.
And of course, Istanbul is a divided city. It's divided between Asia and Europe. But we didn't want to sort of cheat. We wanted to do 5 countries on 5 continents in one day. So we started in the Asian part of Istanbul, in Asia, flew to Casablanca in Morocco, in Africa, Paris, Europe, in France, and then kept going on to North America, to Dominican Republic.
Yes. By the way, the Dominican Republic is in North America. I
It is
didn't know
indeed.
that.
Yeah, no, it is geographically speaking. Yeah, other people will say it's in Central America, but from a geography point of view, it's part of North America.
And then and then you went to South America in Caracas,
Caracas,
Venezuela.
Yes.
So that's 5 continents within one day, and that's what gave you the record, the Guinness World Record in that feat.
Yes, it was a very long Monday.
All in a day.
All in a day.
All in a day. Wow, amazing. And this happened how many years ago?
This was in 2012.
2012.
And the year after, I finished visiting every country in the world, all 198 of them.
198 countries. I've only been to 8. So Gunnar is ahead by 190 countries. I hate you.
Well, every country you visit, you catch up. That's a good thing.
Do you like bring a memento from every country?
Well, I used to bring fridge magnets from every country because I travel with hand luggage only, and they don't take up much space, and you can get fridge magnets almost everywhere. But in some countries like Somalia, Afghanistan, there are almost no tourists, so you can't really just buy a fridge magnet.
That's true.
So then I had to pick up rocks on the beach.
And you
I
put a
had to pick
magnet.
I glue on a magnet myself.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's fridge magnets.
Well, that was my kind of thing, and of course I have some art. I've art from the Philippines. I have masks from parts of Africa.
Masks.
So a little bit of different stuff. I have Zulu bows and arrows from Tanzania.
Wow.
So some other stuff as well, but fridge magnets were the consistent items.
My thing is our dolls
Ah, yeah.
wearing the national costume.
Ah, fantastic.
Yeah. So, but I was thinking about the doll for the United States, and said, okay, it can be a Barbie.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah, but I have, because the Asian countries normally have all these dolls wearing costumes, especially China and Korea.
Yeah.
They have a lot of those, and Japan.
You would need a big room for all those dolls.
My room
198
has
dolls.
some of those dolls, and it can be a bit scary.
Yeah.
It can be a bit scary, but so 198 countries. When did this start? Is it an obsession? Was it always a goal, a bucket list thing, or did you decide to want to do it? When you already had a few countries in your list.
I think it grew into an obsession, but it all
grew into
started when I was only 4 years old, and I only had one brother at the time. I now have 3 brothers and 3 sisters. Our dad, he was a medical doctor on a cruise ship sailing around the Pacific. And of course we couldn't read, my brother and I, were too young. So what he did, he recorded on audio cassette tapes amazing tales from the Philippines, from China, from Alaska, from Canada, from California, and posted it to us. And every day we ran down to the mailbox 100 yards from our house to see if there was a cassette from our dad, because we could recognize the envelope.
So he would record stories.
He would, yeah, so he told, 15, 20 minutes worth of stories. And if there was a cassette in the mailbox, we ran back to the kitchen, put it into the cassette recorder, and just press play. And we're like, wow, this is amazing.
Like Sir Arthur Conan Doyle.
Yeah, exactly.
Tales from the Far East, but we were a bit modern already in the 70s.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. A little bit. But this made such an impression on me. 4 years old, and I want to see these countries as well. Of course, I didn't have any sort of idea of how many countries there were, or even of countries itself, but he was telling all these crazy stories and stuff we did not have in rural Norway. And then I started traveling a little bit when I was 17, 18, but it didn't really catch on until I was almost 20. And then I visited Kyrgyzstan and Kazakhstan. In Central Asia.
What used to be part of the USSR.
Exactly, yes. And we were, again,
those were the first set of countries that you visited having this goal in mind?
No, not really, but
not
that
yet.
sort of grew into a goal because we were,
But when did it become a goal?
4 years later. But my first goal was to visit all the Stan countries, Kyrgyzstan, Kazakhstan, and the other 5 countries ending with Stan. And then in 2008, I said, I've run out of Stans. I need another goal. So that's when this became sort of my mission.
So what was the first country you visited after you set a goal? And how many countries have you visited when you set this goal?
Around 85.
85 already.
Around 85.
And you said might as well just visit all of them.
Might as well do the rest of them.
Okay.
I think Iran was the first country afterwards.
After setting that goal.
Setting that goal, that I have to visit all 100. And
Babylon.
Back then it was 197. It was not 198. And I told a friend of this.
Why was that?
Because South
Timor?
Sudan
Okay.
became a country in 2011. And I told a friend of mine, Ula, I'm going to visit every country in the world, all 197. And he just laughs. He laughs in my face. And I give him my hand. Okay, let's make a bet. And he said, no, before you're 40. I was like, it's still a bet. And I managed.
Man of your word.
Man of my words. That was extra motivation. And
all you girls out there, this is a man of his word. All you girls and boys, if you want to try,
well, exactly.
Try your luck.
Well, there you go.
That's level playing field.
Level playing field.
Yes.
Yeah, we're open to everything. Yeah.
So 197 then, and it became 198, and he has, by the way, visited even Pyongyang and North Korea.
I have. That's a very peculiar place. You should go. It's easy to go. You will get a visa in about 1 week, but you will of course have to have guides or guards.
I don't know that
you.
we have. I don't know if we have diplomatic relations with them.
Well, we don't in Norway. I had to go to Sweden, or I just sent off my passport. A week later, I had it with the visa in there, and you're taken very well care of. I looked very well after. So it's probably the safest country in the world to go as a tourist because there is virtually no crime against tourists.
There's really a misconception that you can't visit North Korea, but the thing is you can't if you are from South Korea.
If you are from South Korea, you have major troubles, yes.
But even if you're American, you can visit it?
Yes. It used to be a problem for Americans as well, but they sort of took away that rule.
Were you nervous trying to get into Pyongyang or when you were there?
I was very excited landing in one of the Kyoto airplanes, one of the really old Soviet time airplanes that they still run.
Okay.
And that was really strange. And you land there and they have this orchestra playing when you land, sort of to celebrate.
Is this a commercial flight?
It is a commercial flight, but
flying out of
from Beijing usually. You can also fly from Moscow on certain
the communist
days.
Countries.
Yes, it's also their only allies, so
yeah,
to speak. You can also fly on Air China, which is more of a what should I say, a little bit more comfortable journey.
Makes me nervous thinking about what was that movie? Is it The Interview?
The Interview.
The Interview.
Yes.
That might happen to me,
Yeah. No, well, of course.
The Interview.
The Interview. Yeah, we're looking at it. Yeah.
So, how long were you in Pyongyang?
Well, 4 or 5 days in North Korea, but we also traveled down to Kaesong, which is on the border of South Korea.
Okay.
So most people who claim to have been to North Korea, they have been to South Korea on the border, and you have these little huts just on the border. And from South Korea, you can cross the line inside sort of a cabin. So you haven't really been there, I would say. But I did the opposite. So I sort of came into South Korea from North Korea.
But that's
went the other
cheating.
way. Yeah, but of course I've visited South Korea a few other times.
But their style is cheating. So what else is a dangerous country? Iraq.
Iraq is can be dangerous.
Of course,
yes.
you've been there.
And now, of course, you have the ISIL.
ISIS, yeah.
This really
Islamic
sad
State.
story of the
Yeah.
Islamic State. Really sad story. And that makes it even more dangerous than it has been for quite some time.
Unfortunately for Filipinos like me who would want to and who are not dual citizens or anything like that. And we would want to, for example, try to reach your goal of 198 countries. Our passports have a stamp that says not valid for travel in Iraq.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
But you still have a loophole there because the northern part of Iraq is Kurdistan. And to Kurdistan, they will welcome you still. It's a part of Iraq, but they sort of want to be their own country. Okay. So you will have there will be own border controls into the rest of Iraq. So you can sort of use that loophole if you like. But I've never seen that in a passport before. So not
ours has, because it happened, I think, in the early 2000s, because there was a truck driver by the name of Angelo de la Cruz, and was abducted there. He was working there as an overseas Filipino worker, and so it caused an international nightmare because that group, I don't know, whoever abducted him, that group, they demanded that we pull out our troops from the coalition of the willing.
Really?
And to say our government, to save the life of that one Filipino, pulled out troops. He was saved, and from then on, even workers are not allowed to travel to Iraq.
Okay, well, I did not know.
So the goal now is 197.
Then you have to sneak in.
And what else is scary? Afghanistan.
Afghanistan can also be scarier, but even war-ridden countries, even Syria right now, you can always find safe spots. Or areas where there is no war going on. And this was also the case for me in Afghanistan. I traveled in from Iran, across the border, took a taxi to the border and walked in and looked for another taxi to take us in there. I was with two friends of mine. So we went into Herat, which is northwest of Afghanistan, and a pretty safe area. But of course, Afghanistan, it's probably not the first country you should visit if you have never traveled before.
Correct.
So I think it's all about, and maybe people shouldn't have 198 as their goal, but to see another country it so opens your eyes.
True.
So I
completely agree.
Absolutely. And even traveling within your own country. I mean, the Philippines, you have 7,000 islands. I mean, so much to see.
Exactly.
Same with Norway. A lot of people have never been up north. In Norway, and so I challenge people to travel in their own country first.
I'm curious, of the 198, did you ever encounter any trouble, any problem, or like a situation that scared the wits out of you?
I have been very lucky, or maybe it's a little bit of experience, perhaps, probably a combination. The closest I was in Somalia. I almost got into a fight. I was trying to get out of Somalia.
Okay.
So I had talked to a guy called Tony, and he would help me get a car to get out. In most countries in Africa, when you enter the car, you will have to wait until the car or the bus fills up before you leave.
All right.
And since I was the first person, I got a shotgun. I got the front seat.
All right.
And then after 15-20 minutes, this rather young guy, tall guy with a long knife in his belt.
Oh my
He
gosh.
just opens up the door and grabs me here and just tries to pull me out of the car. But Tony, he's still standing there, so they start fighting over who's going to be in front. And I guess in the end, Tony, he was the older of the guys with the most prestige, I guess. So he won this sort of fight. And I got to keep the front seat. Which meant the guy with the knife, he was sitting just behind me on my way out of Somalia. And I was sitting like this, leaning forward in the car seat and said, no, please don't cut my throat. but that's the only time. That was a little bit, that's the only time I've been scared on my travels.
What year was this?
This was in, that's a good question, around 2010. It was a few years ago.
This was still before, what was that Tom Hanks movie? Captain Phillips.
Yes.
With the Somali pirates.
Exactly.
That was so scary.
Oh.
I was holding my pee in the entire time watching that movie. But anyway, we have to pause for this short break. We'll talk more about your travels. Open mic, we'll be right back. We're back here in Open Mic with Gunnar Garfors. So Gunnar, have you read Jules Verne's Around the World in 80 Days?
It's one of my favorite books. I read it when I was a kid. And yeah, I think that inspired me as well to travel.
Surely.
Such a well-written book.
But you beat him.
Well,
his record is 80 days. Yours is 1 day.
Well, I think he's a hell of a lot more famous, and he should be. It's an amazing book, and he experienced so much on his one big journey.
But he went around the world in 80 days. It's around the world, but he never got to. I mean, he doesn't have the record of having visited all the countries.
Yeah, but he was saying, well, no, that's true. But back then there were fewer countries, so you know,
Yes.
he probably could have set the record if he wanted to.
But he is a classic, and we love that book.
Phileas Fogg.
But you have a
he's the
book.
man. I also have a book. Yeah, I wrote about my experiences, and it's called How I Ran Out of Countries.
What's the title of your book? You have it here?
I have it here.
And I haven't seen the cover. I want to be surprised. He says it's a cover that would either, what did you say?
I say a lot of people will either love it or they will hate it and think I'm a total arrogant prick.
Okay, let me be the judge of that.
Yeah, I'll show it to you.
Okay. Gunnar Garfors, 198. How I Ran Out of Countries.
So I met a guy, Derek Loudermilk. He has a podcast in Bali. And he said, before he met me, I know, you're quite a nice guy. I would never have believed it when I saw your cover, you slam dunking the globe like that. But I think it's a lot of sarcasm, there's a lot of irony in there.
I'm
so you
okay.
sort of have
I'm
to.
not offended at all.
You're not offended? No,
No.
that's good. And I don't even think the Philippines, is it the Philippines? Oh, you can almost see it in the corner there, in the globe. It's sort of borderline there, I think.
Somewhere.
Somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is basically Africa.
Yeah, it's primarily Africa.
Yeah.
And
This is a llama
there is a llama on there, yeah, because the book is...
and King Kong.
as King Kong is there, you know, you had to put in some... you're one of the few who's actually noticed that.
King Kong?
King Kong,
I've been a fan of King Kong since I was a kid.
But every country has its own chapter, and the book is themed. So sort of every chapter is in a sub-chapter, an overall chapter that's themed. So there's
Thematics,
one about thematics, yeah. So you have one about food, you have one about police troubles, you have one about partying, and so on. So
Should I ask what where the Philippines falls under?
oh yeah, well you can. I don't know if I will answer.
Yeah, where do we fall under in your thematics?
It's in a chapter called Love and Marriage.
Love and marriage.
I was almost married once, but not in the Philippines. So
I'm quite familiar with your story. Yeah, but why does the Philippines fall under love and marriage?
well, I was here before, as I told you, and when you walk around, you know, I was in my 30s, and you walk around and you see a lot of guys, a lot of other foreign guys, also walking around, and they're usually a lot older than me, and they have much more luck with the girls than I do. So I was sitting there, and no girls are coming up to say hello to me.
You?
But
I'm
to all
so
the
sorry.
70-year-old guys and 60-year-old guys, they have so many girls coming up. I don't know what I'm doing wrong. I don't know.
It's a phenomenon.
It must be, yeah.
I don't want to comment on that.
No.
I don't want to comment on that. I would have come up to you, but I'm not a girl.
Well, you know, I would have liked you to come up to me. You know, have a beer. You know,
As a substitute.
Abs a substitute. Your words.
I'm being kind, yeah. But this book is mine?
It is absolutely, yes.
Thank you.
It is, and I will sign it afterwards.
Yes,
Obviously. Yeah.
definitely. It should inspire me to also want to visit more countries than I already have.
Yeah, you're lacking a few, Mike.
Yeah,
You are.
under 90.
Yeah. So hopefully it will be some inspiration there.
Pathetic. It's really pathetic.
Oh, it's not. You know, it's a very good figure.
Yeah.
And it's way more than most people. So no, 8 countries. That's a lot. It's a really good start.
Can I just make a list of cities instead? Because then it'll be more.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
But you know, some of my friends know me that for the longest time, my reason for traveling, there has to be a reason. There has to be an excuse, like for business.
Yeah.
Like there's a conference to attend.
Yeah.
There always has to be something, you know, to make it more worthwhile.
Well, you're a busy man. You have so many things going for you.
I never wanted to travel for leisure, but then you know, I think interestingly, mine is reverse.
Yeah.
You know, the reverse. Now that I'm getting a bit older, I want to travel for leisure.
Yeah.
And I think I told you, my dad, he's just so used to. I mean, he doesn't want to travel at all because my dad's father, he was the first Filipino commercial pilot,
That's
and
so
they
impressive.
traveled the world. His family, when very few Filipinos, you know, could.
Yeah.
So when we were growing up, he was like, been there, yeah, been there. And he would show us really old, home movies of their travels to Brazil
Wow.
from the 50s and the 60s. And they would have like this videographer going around with them to the World's Fair in New York in the
Nice.
60s. And
Incredible.
yeah, with my grandparents still there. So, and my dad's like, he's not excited at all. So I think that's sort of influenced me growing up. That okay, it's not very important.
It's not very big.
But I am very interested in cultures, and like I said, no, there are a few in my new set of bucket list, and that's Morocco. Our friend Keltum, she doesn't want to be seen. She doesn't want to be seen. She's gonna run away. She's Moroccan. I've always wanted to go to Casablanca and Marrakesh because I'm a big fan of spy novels and spy movies, and more often than not, they're set there.
Yeah.
I want to go to Egypt, see the pyramids. I hear they're just very close to Cairo.
Yeah.
And because I've always wanted to study Egyptology. And I want to go to one of those countries that has the Northern Lights.
Norway. You should definitely come to Norway. And also pyramids. The most famous pyramids are, of course, in Egypt, but you have more pyramids in Sudan. And
there are in Sudan?
There are many more pyramids in Sudan. But the Egyptians were much better at marketing their pyramids.
They look alike?
Those are the ones, they're very similar. They're a little bit bigger, those in Egypt, but they have many more of them in Sudan. And they're alongside the Nile as well.
They were built by Egyptians?
Yeah, around the same time.
By Egyptians?
Well,
by
back
pharaohs.
then, I'm not really sure how the countries were divided, but by the same people, I'm sure, yes.
The former Consul General of South Korea to Cebu, Consul General Lee, is now Ambassador of South Korea to Sudan, so maybe we'll give him a call.
Oh, absolutely, you should do.
To visit the pyramids.
You should ask for a visa.
And of course, the pyramids in South America. In Central
Central and South America as well.
By the Aztecs and the Toltecs and the Mayans and the...
So they're built a little bit differently. But absolutely worth seeing. And again, cultural differences between the countries, and that's one of the things that I just love about traveling, seeing these little cultural differences. Whether it's way of architecture, whether it's food.
What's the most important facet of a country's culture for you? Is it food? Is it history? I mean, like all these things.
I love food. I'm a total foodie. I love trying out new food, which has given me food poisoning numerous times, I must say. But that's part of traveling. But also, getting to know a little bit about their history, their background, and talking to people. I think that's so it's always nice to meet other fellow travelers. But if you really want to get to know a new country, you should meet the local people.
Have you tried? Sorry, you were saying?
No, and the best way to get in touch with them, it's free. It's just to put on a big smile. And it's the easiest way because to lower the barrier. You show I'm not threatening you. I would like to get to know you.
You have a very friendly, amiable face.
Well, thank you. That's
not
kind
threatening
of
at all. Keltum is more threatening. Come here. But have you tried our balut?
I have indeed, yeah. I tried that with a Filipino friend of mine, Elik. He lives in New York, so we had it there in a Filipino restaurant. And I've tried it with another friend in Norway.
How many days old? Was it like 16, 17, or 18?
I have no idea.
Could you see the chick?
You could see the chick.
With some of the feathers?
Some of the feathers were there as well.
Really good.
But I've tried it twice.
Delectable.
I've tried it twice, so it means I didn't hate it.
18 with 18 if there's feathers.
Yeah. Okay.
Have you tried like other exotic food like locust and?
Yeah, well, locust. I've tried
frogs.
Dog. I've tried frogs. I've tried snakes. Worms. A rat I haven't tried. In Ecuador,
I would try everything and anything except for a rat.
Yeah.
But they actually eat rats in. Farm rats in northern or central Luzon.
Yeah, absolutely.
They barbecue them.
Wow. Okay, well, I've seen that.
Would
on
you try
photos.
that?
I've never, if they were served,
Master
I would
Splinter?
absolutely try it. Yes. So I've never said no to anything. And in Africa, insects, they eat a lot of insects.
I'm okay with insects. Hakuna Matata.
Hakuna Matata, yeah. Or TIA. This is Africa. It's almost the same kind of thing, you know. Don't expect anything to happen.
I've tried eating insects in at the border of Cambodia and Vietnam.
Okay, yeah.
I enjoy them.
Yeah, well, they were like crisps almost.
Yeah. They tasted like small shrimp, like okoy here in Cebu. No?
Yeah.
Very good.
Yeah. Okay, I'm definitely up for that.
And I've tried eating crocodiles. Have you tried eating?
Oh, the crocodiles and alligators are also nice. Very nice. Yeah. But it has to be fresh, obviously, and it should be prepared in a sort of local way by people who know how to do it, and of course they usually do when you travel around.
What about local folklore? I think for me it's interesting how there are a lot of similarities between. In the Philippines, we have viscera suckers, vampire, like local vampire lore.
Yeah.
They call it aswang and werebeasts. And it's interesting how some of these sort of, if I'm not mistaken, predate
Yeah.
colonial Philippines, colonial times. No? The stories, and they've survived through colonial times, passed on from one generation to the next. And there are similarities, commonalities with other countries, the folklore of countries in other continents. Like the vampires of Eastern Europe and the werbeasts and the witches of England and mainland Europe. Is this something that fascinates you?
It's always done that. So when I was a kid, I was reading folklores from every country, or as many countries as I could get hold of. You have a lot of similarities between different cultures, but also some differences.
Yeah.
You have Arab Nights, you have the Norwegian folklores. You had the two guys walking around Norway like 200-300 years ago and collecting them. Because as you say, they were not written down originally. They were just passed on from mouth to mouth.
Was it
and
Brothers
then
Grimm?
Yeah, well, and the Grimm brothers, in Germany.
Yeah.
And you have North American Indian tales from India, of course, from China. It's so exciting. Yeah.
Do you like actively ask these stories when you visit a country? Like in the Philippines, like alamat alamat of Maria Makiling, the legends.
The legends, yeah.
Do you ask the local legends and
Well, you sort of get into it when you have conversations, and it's a natural topic to bring up, So that's happened a number of times. But it's sort of sitting around, going back to the Stone Age almost, sitting around sort of a fire and eating and telling stories. That of course you have this in many variants. Now you sit in a restaurant around a table.
I'm not going to ask you what your favorite country is because I'm sure everyone asks you.
20 times a week I get this.
Probably just the most memorable, not necessarily your favorite.
No, well, again, there are
trip,
so many memorable ones, and of course, North Korea is memorable in many ways. It sort of totally redefines what is a country. The Philippines, my fifth visit here, of course, memorable in totally different ways than North Korea.
Okay. And
then you have a country like Iceland, a volcano rock, so to speak, in the Atlantic. It's been battered by these huge waves for millions of years, and people still live there. And they have amazing food, believe it or not, and a very exciting culture. So there is so many. I can't just pick one. If I can give you 10, and if I give you a list of 10, I'm going to have to add number 11, and then number 12, and so on.
And then it's a book.
And then there's a book, and there you have all of them.
So we just better read the book. No, but okay, we're on to our last gap, but we have to pause for another short break. Open mic, we'll be right back with global citizen, Gunnar Garfors. We're back here in Open Mic. We're back here in Open Mic with Gunnar Garfors, who flew in all the way from Norway. And it's funny because this is a guy who made history, who's in the Guinness World Records for being able to visit 5 continents within one day. But on his way here to be on the show, his flight was delayed from Norway to Hong Kong.
To Sweden. Yes.
Yeah. So he missed his connecting flight from Hong Kong to Cebu. So we were supposed to tape yesterday, but we had to push it back to today because he missed his flight.
I have sacked my pilot. He's no longer employed.
But I think I love the irony. I love the irony.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah.
Because not only I mean, he has other records, but not on Guinness. But he has a record for having visited 19 countries within one day.
Yes.
22 United States states within one day, right?
Absolutely, yes. Crazy
but
stuff.
He missed his connecting flight from Hong Kong to Cebu.
No, it's the exception that proves the rule.
No, it's for me. These are the mishaps that make our lives interesting. And
it is indeed.
We have a lot to talk about. When we're old and gray, we look back and we have all these stories to tell.
Absolutely, and I was so sorry because I knew I was coming here to
don't
tape
be
the
sorry.
show.
Don't be sorry.
So, yeah.
It is an honor, that someone like you, someone of your experience, of your accomplishment, has given us the time of day. Who went the distance for us.
Well, it's my pleasure. I'm really honored to be here, Mike. That's great.
Although
great
I know going the distance is your thing.
Well, that's true. That's true. Yeah, it's always a challenge, and it's sort of like it's sort of a goal. And it's like an adventure. It's a fairy tale. It's like a computer game,
True.
but you are in the computer game. When you travel, you have no idea what's going to happen on the other side, and that's one of the big mistakes I think people do when they go on holiday. They plan their holiday to death, and even without not having been in a country, they plan everything, and then they come to the country and they say, "Oh, this is not the way we thought it would be," and they've already set up so many trips. They might have paid for guides and everything, and then they find out that no, this is not what we should have done, and they meet some local people and they will take them around, but no, we already planned everything.
As they say, expectation is the mother of all frustration.
It is, yeah. I believe in impulsivity. Impulsivity. That's a very
that's
difficult
a tongue
word.
twister. So, tell us about your tour of the U.S. 22 states in one day.
22 states in one day. That was actually to promote my book, the English version of my book.
It's practically half.
It's almost half, yeah. So,
half.
and we did this last year in September last year, and well, we started up north in Maine, and drove. It was two friends of mine.
No
and me.
time for lobsters.
Well, we had a lot of lobsters before we went, the day before.
Good.
And oysters. Oh, I love seafood.
Me
It's so
too, me
good.
too.
And we drove, I think, 7 states. Then we took a scheduled flight. We had parked a rental car by the airport where we landed in Philadelphia. We drove through another few states and got another flight from Washington D.C. And flew to Charlotte in North Carolina. And we drove to Taxi, South Carolina, back to Charlotte, and flew to Alabama. And then we drove the last leg. So we
Was there time to go to the bathroom?
well, you know, on every plane we could go to the bathroom, and then we got some more food and drinks and everything, so we could keep it going for 24 hours. It was fun. It was hectic but fun.
And your 19 countries, that was around Europe.
That was around Europe. We started in Greece and we finished in Liechtenstein. So we started in the east and we made our way to the western part of Europe. So it's sort of crazy, but you get this sort of adrenaline kick by doing this, and it's the ultimate boys trip. It's two of my very good friends, Øystein and Ty, and you know, we tell tales, we tell stories, we have a lot of fun, a lot of jokes, and then you end up breaking a world record, which is very satisfying.
The next time you come up with a, you know, like a record-breaking attempt, you know, like a goal, please. I want to join.
I'll let you know, yeah.
One that can make it to the Guinness records, because I don't think I will make it there, you know, for being the tallest, the smartest, or the most handsome. But
never say never.
I just tag along.
What?
I just want to be one of your hangers-on. Kaltum, Gunnar, let's go and make it to Guinness.
Let's make history.
Please come up with something new. What? Not 5 continents, but what would be a? Are you cooking up something?
Well, you know, we can always improve one of the others. We can do 20 countries, so we can do 23 states, or we can come up with something.
Come on,
totally
I'm gonna
different.
save up for that.
Okay, so how many counties are there in the Philippines, for instance, or states, or how do you divide the Philippines?
We have how many provinces? Well, Gwen Garcia definitely, our former governor, would have the record of visiting probably all the towns in Cebu province. But I don't know.
We have to do some research.
We have to do some research, quite a bit of research. But then we would have to compete with politicians, because that's how they, you know, when they campaign.
Absolutely.
They get to visit a lot.
But have they done it in a day, in 24 hours? That's the question. Is that
Maybe we
possible?
can try. Maybe
we
can
have
try.
to. We have to. I think we should try. We should give it a go.
Since since you're in Guinness, we would just tag along. I'd like to be there. Kaltum, okay? John Lord, commitment. Let's make it to Guinness with him. If you're willing to share this one with us, because you already have one for to yourself.
Well, of course. Yeah. It's no fun doing stuff alone. So I've always done these things with people I know, except traveling to every country. Half of the countries I travel with people, and around half I travel to alone. So it's a little bit hard when you're going to Somalia and you ask your friend, would you like to come to Somalia with me? And say, no, I have to water my plants. Or I have to look after my parrot. I didn't know you have a parrot. I'm getting one now to not have to go to Somalia. You get all sorts of crazy excuses.
I'd probably want to try one of those exotic and dangerous countries when the problem with ISIS has more or less been resolved.
Hopefully that will happen soon.
Yeah,
yes.
fingers crossed.
Yes.
from here on out, you've accomplished a lot as a traveler, as an adventurer, and you have you were able to travel, see the world, whilst maintaining your regular job. And you did most of that, all of that, under 40. What's next for you?
Oh, well, there are always new places to see. I've been to every country, but of course I haven't been everywhere. There are loads of islands and towns and cities and so on, mountains I haven't been to. So there are a lot to see still, and I'm also working on my next book.
Oh, really?
Which will be about fewer countries than 198.
Okay.
That doesn't take too much.
But what's it about?
Well, it's about, let's say, countries less traveled. So I'll visit some exciting countries and tell my tales from those countries, and of course get to know people properly in those countries.
Wow.
So that's also the next, and I'm looking into some.
Do you have like a timeline for that?
It should be out 2017 or early 2018. And then I'm also looking at some radio show possibilities in Norway, and even maybe a TV show. In an English-speaking country, but we'll get back to that if that happens.
you have your plate full, but and the world is on your plate. It's not just a basketball, but it's really for me an inspiration to meet someone like you, and bring out something I never thought I wanted in me, to want to see more of the world.
But I think it's something more and more people want to do. It's easier now to travel. It's
with the
cheaper.
Budget airlines.
It is, and people are. The world is more accessible. So you can ask yourself: is the world getting bigger or getting smaller? And it's more accessible maybe, but also cultural differences are in some cases growing, despite of this.
You're the expert there, and I have a lot of friends. They actually take the time out to see much of the Philippines and much of Asia. They're always on the lookout for seat sales on these budget airlines, and it's nice looking at them. But I'm not there yet. I'm not quite there yet. But this might just push me. But what's your advice? What's your advice for travelers and those who are interested to travel? Since you're probably the expert.
I think you should start small, maybe even locally, as I said, maybe even within your own town, even your own country. Get the expertise, get the practice from traveling nearby where you live, and then start one country after another. And maybe you only want to visit 5 or 10 or 15 countries. Maybe that's what you want. You don't necessarily want to visit all of them. Secondly, as I said earlier, don't plan too much. Leave it open for impulsivity. And what I do, I only travel with hand luggage as well. It's much more flexible. You blend in.
It's cheaper
more easily.
also.
It's also cheaper.
You don't have
it's more environmentally friendly. And I'm from one of the most expensive countries in the world. So why should I buy a lot of clothes back home and carry them with me to wherever I go? I rather bring washing powder so I can reuse my clothes, or I buy new clothes. And by doing that, I support the local economy. I get clothes that my friends back home don't have. They're not available in Norway.
Mementos.
Exactly.
From your travel.
Yes. So I think those things, and what else, when you're out traveling, what I always do, I always write down everything on a computer. I print out a sheet of all the booking numbers, all the addresses, and all the rest of it. Because you may have it on your phone or your tablet.
You may lose your phone.
You may lose it, and the moment you flash the phone, that might be worth 2 yearly salaries of the taxi driver. You're going to be ripped off totally. By showing off your phone here and there, you're more prone to being robbed. And of course, papers don't run out of battery, usually.
True.
So it's a good way. It's a very simple
Very
trick.
practical.
Very practical. And always carry a pen, because there are always forms you have to fill out. If you don't have a pen, you're the last one in queue. If you want to share your phone number,
of course.
Immigration, all sorts of forms. So it's always.
What about theft? Have you been a victim of theft?
I once lost a pair of sunglasses in Jerusalem in Israel. That's the only time. So I guess I've been lucky. But again, the moment you only travel with hand luggage, you're clearly showing off that he's not carrying much. There's probably less to steal. So yeah, we'll leave him alone. So I've been, again,
Do you bring
quite
cash,
lucky.
or do you pay with credit card, or do you withdraw from the ATM?
Well, this very much depends on the country. Some countries, they don't even have an ATM. Tuvalu, for instance, in the Pacific Ocean, there is no way of getting money out. You have to bring US dollars is usually the best.
US dollars is the best.
In Tuvalu, in the Pacific Ocean, Australian dollars, and also euros. It will get you quite far. But it depends on the country. Some countries have a very advanced finance system, so you can pay by credit card almost wherever you go.
Yeah, but
And other places, you really need the cash.
in the Philippines, you still need cash,
Yeah.
unfortunately.
But that's one thing on the piece of paper you print out. Always take note of the currency exchange, because if you have to change US dollars to the local currency, you need to know the exchange rate, or you will be ripped off.
True.
So it's another a little bit of a practical tip.
Yeah, but that's one thing that the Philippines needs to upgrade on. I mean, most of our stores, even our 7-Eleven shops, don't accept credit cards.
wow.
And if you want to attract more tourists,
Yeah.
especially from first world countries, we should be able to accommodate electronic payments like that.
That's true. And Norway is actually one of the countries that was probably that's most likely to get rid of cash altogether. So now you can pay by cash everywhere. Taxis, you can pay street vendors by credit card.
Even street vendors.
Even street vendors.
Can you imagine
7-Elevens, wherever. So local coffee shops. Even if you buy a packet of gum, you will pay by your credit card or your
Wow.
debit card.
See, that's something we should work on. Maybe the next administration should actually focus on making sure that we have the online infrastructure, because that's something we also lack, and of course the hardware, and making it easier for smaller businesses, the SMEs, to have access to the credit card terminals.
Exactly, and this actually would get rid of almost all of the black market, the black economy.
True,
So what
true.
they say is that Greece, we know all the economic hardships Greece has been through. They said if everything had been done electronically, all payments had been done electronically, Greece would never have had
The debt
a financial crisis.
Yeah, true.
Because now the black market is just too big, so you don't get the tax dollars.
And you have all these convenience stores. We're becoming 24 hours. Like Cebu City has become a 24-hour city, a city that never sleeps. It also reduces the incidence, the risk of mugging and
Yeah.
hold up. We have a lot
Exactly.
of yeah.
There's nothing to rob.
heists.
There's
Yeah.
nothing to rob. So you sort of eliminate crime on many different levels by getting rid of
And
cash.
making it and whilst making it convenient for tourists.
Yes, and locals, of course, as
True,
well. Yeah.
true. Well, that's all the time we have, but it's been an interesting conversation with you, Gunnar, and thank you for coming over.
It's been great being on your show, Mike.
And I'm
love it.
glad that we were able to find time despite that ironic delay, missing your flight. And it was a good night that we had last night with Keltum and John Lord, and having dinner and drinks with everyone else here.
Absolutely.
I hope you enjoy the rest of your stay. It's going to be very short and sweet.
It is. Unfortunately, I'm off again tomorrow. It's
The life of a traveler.
the life of a traveler, indeed.
But you will be back.
I will, of course, be back. I really enjoy Cebu. I really enjoy the Philippines. So.
And you will get in touch with us so that we can help, we can join as you make another world record.
Oh, yes. We're already in the planning stage.
All right. Anyway, thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We had here Gunnar Garfors, all the way from Norway, a record-breaking young gentleman who has seen practically all of the countries of the world. And I hope you had fun. This has been Mike Lopez, another episode of Open Mic. Good night and Godspeed.